Sasha Martinengo.
Storming down the pit lane.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time on bulls.co.za.
The first time on Gearz that we are reviewing a vehicle, and it is the Peugeot 4008, or you could call it
4008.
There we go. Now, I said right in the beginning of the show, you've got to remember the three letters. Do you remember what they were?
CVT.
CVT. No, it's not a disease. It stands for continuously variable transmission. Now, don't be fooled, because this is actually not something new. CVT was actually conceptualized over 500 years ago by the one and only Leonardo da Vinci. But the first ever patent only came out back in 1886. So, what is it and how does it work? Well, I tried to get hold of Michael, because this morning before I came into the show, I was talking to Michael, who's one of the Maserati technicians, and I said to him, can you just explain to me how the CVT gearbox works? And he said, well, it's quite complicated, to be honest. He said, but basically what you got to think about is that there's this chain, and then there are these cones, and then the cones with the hydraulic pressure push the gear, and then this gear pushes, the cone pushes the gear, and then the gear pushes it again, so it just continually changes gear. See, of course, how simple is that? No, of course, we don't understand. It doesn't matter, you don't really have to know how it works, but it is something that could catch you out. Okay, if you haven't driven a car with CVT, it could be a little bit weird, because all you hear are the revs going up, or standing at a certain position, and then the speedo goes up. Okay, but you don't feel the car changing gears. So it's like a little bit weird, but you do get used to it. That is what CVT is, continuously variable transmission. So basically it's a seamless change of gear. Very, very clever. Okay, but you know, you'll get used to it. The one major advantage of the 4008 or 4008 Peugeot, which I found, is that it has paddle shift style gearbox change.
I know where those are.
Yes. If you saw our video last week with Daisy showing us the inside of the 4008, you will see that we found where the paddle shifts are. I've got to say it works very, very well. Paddle shift gearboxes in high performance cars, we all know, work exceptionally well, but in sort of normal road cars for normal users, sometimes they have had their problems. This one I found to work, number one, was a hell of a lot of fun. Very efficient and very, very effective. The change down was good, the change up was good. I found all in all the paddle shift really, really was a lot of fun. Also, when you've got the CVT, if you're worried that the engine's over revving, even though it isn't, because it's doing the seamless change, you can use the paddle shifts and it actually feels a hell of a lot better as well. So very, very cool to have an SUV with paddle shift box. So let's look at the 4008. It's in the segment of cars similar, like the Kia Sportage, the Hyundai iX35, the Nissan Qashqai. So very competitive segment, very, very high growing segment in South Africa. And of course it's an SUV, which is a sport utility vehicle. Now we know. The 4008 is also Peugeot's first four-wheel drive car. Okay, so very much a serious challenger to the other cars in the segment as well. The exterior look is aggressive. I like it a lot. The front sort of growls at you, while the back is pretty sexy. It has the 18-inch alloy rims that are very, very cool, makes it look pretty sporty. Inside, it's French flair, and I think this is where it definitely has an edge over cars like the Kia, the Hyundai, and the Nissan. Everything is beautifully put together. Not that the others aren't, but the others are a little bit too plasticky for me. I think Koreans and Japanese are known for that, whereas the French and the Europeans are known for a little bit, quite a lot more style. So everything is in the right place, except for one thing. When you get into your car, which side is your indicator on? The left?
Yeah, no. Yes.
It's on the left. Peugeot, in this specific model, everything is, the stalks are the other way around. So the indicator's on the right, and the windshield wipers are on the left. Caught me out a few times, I've got to be honest, but it's just something you'll get used to. The car has a huge amount of extras. Auto wipers, auto lights. USB, Bluetooth, 7 airbags, all standard. And that's a lot of features. The car that I drove had leather seats. They were very, very comfortable. I must say the seats moved electronically. It had seat warmers as well. And you know how cold it was the last couple of days?
Oh my gosh, perfect.
You just turn that on and go, oh, I have a warm buttock. It's very nice. But I must say, with the seats, moving them around was great. It took me a few attempts, but eventually I found my perfect driving position, which I think was pretty cool. So I played around with it quite a lot till eventually I said, you know what, that's me. I'm very, very comfortable in that position in the car, and that's the way that I drove. One of the coolest things on the Peugeot 4008 are the LED lights that lighten up the panorama sunroof. So last night I went out, it was actually the first time that I'd driven it in the evening, and I had the panorama roof open, which, you know, the roof doesn't open, it's just the under tray that opens, so you can look out, and you've got the whole of the front and back that you can look out of. But on the sides, running up on the sides of where it closes, are these lovely little blue LED lights. So trust me, it looks cool. It's not kitsch at all. It looks very, very cool. There was only one little downside with the interior of the car, and that was the boot space. It's quite deep, but it's rather narrow, if you know what I mean, because the spare wheel that's in the back. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of luggage in that space. Otherwise, just, you know, get thinner bags. There we go. It's
Or
simple.
get your wife or girlfriend to pack less.
Impossible. But thanks for trying. Listen, once you get accustomed to the CVT box, it's a very smooth drive. It's got a 110 kilowatts, 2-liter petrol engine, which I tell you was pretty racy once it got going. It's no rocket ship, but it does drive very, very nicely. I didn't get to test the 4-wheel drive properly. Okay, I mean, I didn't go into the Namibian outback. But where I did test it, I must say the car pulled very effectively. Now, the one thing that I did find in the 4-wheel drive mode, when I was driving it sort of, you know, just on, you know, sand roads and those kind of things, and trying to go up a couple of hills, but I wanted to test the 4-wheel drive system, is I found it a lot more pleasurable to drive it with using the paddle shift gearbox. So I knew which gear I was in all of the time, and then from there you just use the power and the torque to get up little hills and then down on the other side. So I would suggest that if you're going to use it on 4-wheel drive, I would suggest you use the paddle shift gearbox. The suspension is quite soft, so it rides over bumps very, very smoothly. Going around corners, well, it seems a little bit wobbly, but nothing major. You know, a little bit top heavy, but nothing major at all. But then again, it is not a race car. So my final verdict on the Peugeot 4008, it really is a complete package with the major shift of service and customer satisfaction being their priority, and that we heard from the MD from Peugeot, Francis, talking about that, and him knowing and identifying what kind of inherent problems that he has. I think with the major shift to service and customer satisfaction, I think South Africa is ready for this French baby, and I think the Koreans and the Japanese should be a little bit concerned. I definitely give it an 8 out of 10 for the Peugeot 4008 or 4008.
Gearz on bulls.co.za with Sasha Martinengo.
He's kept himself out of trouble.
Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.